Imagine this for a moment. What if every fear, every insecurity, every part of yourself you've tried to bury wasn't something to overcome, but a map pointing you toward your purpose? What if the things you've been taught to hide, the anger, the envy, the shame, the doubt, weren't flaws to be erased, but messages waiting to be understood? This isn't just a poetic idea. It's the foundation of Carl Jung's groundbreaking philosophy. He called it the shadow, the hidden part of yourself that holds all the traits, impulses, and desires you've rejected or denied. But here's the paradox. Jung believed that inside that shadow is your greatest strength, your most authentic self, your potential for wholeness. The shadow isn't the villain. It's the part of you that holds the key to your freedom, if you're willing to face it. In this journey, you'll uncover not just what the shadow is, but how embracing it can completely reshape your life. By the end, you'll have a roadmap to turn your darkness into purpose and discover the self you were always meant to become. And trust me, what you've feared the most might just be the key to everything you've been seeking. Part 1. Carl Jung and what the shadow really is. Carl Gustav Jung, one of the greatest minds in modern psychology, gave us a concept that's as unsettling as it is transformative: the shadow. According to Jung, the shadow is the unconscious part of your personality, the place where you store all the thoughts, feelings, desires, and traits that you've been taught to reject, suppress, or feel ashamed of. They don't disappear. They just get buried, pushed into the dark corners of your psyche, where they quietly influence your behavior without your awareness. Think about it. Have you ever felt jealous of a coworker's success but smiled and said, "Good for them"? Have you ever felt deeply annoyed by someone's confidence, even if they didn't do anything wrong? Do you avoid certain conversations because they touch on something too raw, too real inside you? That's the part of you you've disowned, asking to be seen. Jung called the shadow the hidden self, not because it's evil or broken, but because it's the part of you that you've never been taught to face. Here's a useful metaphor. Your shadow is like a hidden hard drive in your mind. You can't see it on your desktop, but it holds everything you've ever repressed: memories, desires, fears, shame, anger. It's running in the background. And sometimes, it takes control without you even realizing it. Jung once wrote, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." The shadow often reveals itself in the people we judge. You hate arrogance? Maybe you were punished for showing confidence as a child. You can't stand people who complain? Maybe you're repressing your own pain and vulnerability. The shadow is a mirror, not a monster. It shows you the parts of yourself you've refused to see, because they didn't fit the image you were taught to present to the world. But here's the warning. If you don't become aware of your shadow, it will control your life from the dark. And as Jung put it, you will call it fate. This is the uncomfortable truth. We don't just carry a shadow. We are often driven by it. So the question becomes, are you willing to look, to see not just what's easy, but what's hidden? In the next section, we'll go deeper. We'll explore how your shadow sabotages you in silence, and why that may actually be the first clue to discovering your life's purpose. Part 2. When your shadow controls you in silence. The most dangerous thing about the shadow is that it doesn't announce itself. It doesn't scream. It doesn't ask for permission. It works silently, in the background. Until one day, you explode in anger, or sink into shame, and you don't even know why. This is what Carl Jung warned us about. The shadow, when ignored, doesn't go away. It goes underground. And the more we repress it, the more power it gains. Think of it like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The more force you use to keep it hidden, the more violently it pops up the moment you slip. That's how the shadow behaves. You think you're in control until you're not. One of the most common ways the shadow reveals itself is through projection. Jung described projection as the process of disowning parts of ourselves and seeing them in others instead. What we can't accept in ourselves, we criticize or react to in someone else. Here's a simple example. If you carry unresolved feelings of insecurity, you might feel triggered by someone who radiates confidence. You might label them arrogant or fake, when in reality, their confidence is mirroring the part of you that feels small, the part you haven't allowed to grow. In relationships, projection is everywhere. You feel intense anger at someone for being selfish, when deep down, you're afraid of owning your own needs. You roll your eyes at people who express their emotions freely, because you were taught to bury yours. And the shadow loves environments where emotional honesty is discouraged, like toxic workplaces or social media, where everyone's projecting a curated, flawless life, while silently drowning in anxiety, envy, and self-doubt. Think about how toxic positivity plays into this. We're told to stay positive, don't be negative, good vibes only. But what happens to the anger, the sadness, the grief? They get repressed, pushed into the shadow. And the more we deny them, the more we're ruled by them without realizing it. This is how the shadow controls us, not by force, but by invisibility. You think it's their bluntness, but what if it's your fear of being honest that's reacting? Jung said, knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people. When you begin to recognize projection, your relationships change. Instead of blaming others, you pause and ask, what part of me is being reflected here? This doesn't mean you excuse bad behavior. It means you start using conflict as a mirror for self-awareness. Every strong emotional reaction is a breadcrumb, leading you to something unresolved inside you. And here's the key. Once you see it, you can start to own it. And once you own it, you take your power back. In the next part, we'll explore what Jung called individuation, and why embracing your shadow isn't just healing. It's the path to becoming your whole self. Part 3. Individuation. Becoming a whole human being. Carl Jung believed that the ultimate goal of the human psyche isn't perfection, it's wholeness. And the path toward that wholeness is a process he called individuation. Individuation isn't about adding something new. It's about turning toward the parts you've buried. The anger you silenced, the desire you disowned, the voice you forgot was yours. It's not about fixing who you are. It's about remembering who you are beneath the masks, because most of us don't show up in the world as our full selves. We wear something Jung called the persona, the social mask we put on to function in society. The good student, the strong one, the professional. It's not a lie, but it's also not the full truth. Behind the persona lives the self, your true integrated being. That gap is where your disowned parts take root, and the shadow begins to grow. This is why individuation is such a revolutionary idea. It asks you to stop choosing between light and dark, and instead, bring them together. Think of the myth of Hercules. He wasn't just a hero because he fought monsters. He had to confront his own inner rage, his flaws, his guilt. Only then could he rise beyond brute strength and embody wisdom. Or Luke Skywalker, who couldn't become a Jedi until he faced the darkness within himself, his fear, his anger, his lineage. It wasn't enough to defeat Darth Vader. He had to confront the fact that he could become him. This myth didn't die with Hercules. It just changed costumes. In Black Panther, T'Challa must wrestle with his own identity. Does he uphold the traditions of the past, or become something more than what others expect? His real strength is born not from following a script, but from embracing all parts of himself: legacy, grief, responsibility, and truth. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But becoming your true self means walking into the parts you've been avoiding. It's not always comfortable, but it's necessary. When you begin to individuate, things change. You stop seeking constant approval. You stop performing for others. You begin to feel more aligned, even when life is difficult. You weren't born to be palatable. You were born to be whole. You are your doubts, your passions, your darkness, and your brilliance. Together. Individuation isn't a one-time moment of clarity. It's a lifelong unfolding. Individuation is not a goal, it's a vow. To stop hiding from yourself and to finally come home. So ask yourself, what part of me have I been editing out to fit in? What truth inside me have I been too afraid to live? In the next section, we'll explore how your shadow speaks, through dreams, reactions, and patterns, and how listening to it might be the key to finally understanding your purpose. Part 4. Signs. Your shadow is trying to speak to you. Your shadow doesn't send you polite emails. It doesn't speak with words. Instead, it whispers through your reactions, dreams, and emotional intensity. Have you ever found yourself overreacting to something small? Snapping at someone for no reason, or feeling deep shame or rage in a situation that didn't seem that serious? That's often not just emotion. That's the shadow knocking on your door. Carl Jung believed that when we suppress or reject a part of ourselves, it doesn't disappear. It becomes unconscious, but it keeps trying to reach us. One of the most powerful ways the shadow communicates is through dreams. In dreams, we don't have filters. The unconscious rises to the surface, using symbols and archetypes to speak. Jung observed that the shadow often appears in dreams as a stranger, a monster, or even an animal. It might chase you, confront you, scare you, but it's not trying to hurt you. It's trying to be seen. That dark figure in your dream, it's the part of yourself you've disowned. Your pain, your anger, your creativity, your truth. Trying to reconnect with you. A powerful metaphor. Your shadow is like a version of you that once spoke loudly, but was silenced before it could finish the sentence. It was once part of you, but somewhere along the way, you rejected it to fit in, to be good, to survive. Now, it stands at the edge of your inner world, not screaming, but pleading to be heard. So how do you start listening? Start with your reactions. When something triggers a strong emotional response, especially when it seems out of proportion, pause and ask, what is this really about? Is this emotion pointing to something I've buried? Then, begin a practice of emotional journaling. At the end of the day, write down the moments where you felt the most reactive. What happened? What did you feel? What part of yourself were you protecting or hiding? Another method, shadow dialogue. This may feel strange at first, but Jung often encouraged patients to speak to their shadow as if it were a separate being. You can try this in writing. Ask your shadow, what do you need from me? What are you afraid of? What have I been refusing to feel? When you give your shadow a voice, you begin to understand that it's not your enemy. It's a wounded guide. And with compassion, you can begin the process of healing. Not by silencing that inner voice, but by finally listening to it. In the next part, we'll explore why your shadow isn't just personal. It may actually hold the key to your life's purpose. And that hidden pain you carry? It might be pointing you directly to your calling. Part 5. Your shadow and the purpose of your life. Carl Jung believed that our life's purpose isn't something we find. It's something that is revealed once we have the courage to face ourselves completely. Purpose is not found, but revealed when we dare to face ourselves. And this includes the parts we've rejected. Your shadow doesn't just hold your fears, insecurities, or shame. It also holds your hidden gifts. Because often, the very things we suppress are the keys to who we're meant to become. The person who was silenced as a child, told that their voice didn't matter, might one day become a powerful public speaker or activist, fighting for those who still haven't found their voice. The one who grew up terrified of confrontation, who buried their anger to keep the peace, may discover that this anger, when owned and channeled, can become the fuel to dismantle injustice, to lead, to protect, to advocate. Even the person who fears the spotlight, who hides in the background out of self-doubt, might be a natural performer, an artist, someone born to shine once they reclaim their inner light. The shadow isn't blocking your path. It is your calling, wearing the mask of fear. Not because it's trying to stop you, but because it's protecting what was once wounded. When you disown a part of yourself, you also disown the energy that comes with it. But when you begin to face your shadow, you reclaim that energy. And suddenly, what once felt like a burden becomes your power. Think of it this way. Suppressed creativity becomes innovation. Buried grief becomes compassion. Denied ambition becomes leadership. Jung saw this integration as the path to individuation, but also to meaning. Not a meaning handed to you by society, but one that emerges from within. Because the truth is, your purpose isn't out there. It's not something you chase. It's something you uncover by turning inward, by being brave enough to ask, what have I been afraid to own that might actually be the key to who I'm meant to be? In the next section, we'll explore how to begin that integration, how to take what's hidden and bring it into your daily life in a way that heals, empowers, and transforms. Part 6. Working with your shadow in daily life. Understanding the shadow is only the beginning. The real transformation happens when you begin to work with it. Consistently, compassionately, and consciously. And that begins with one powerful habit: self-reflection. Start by noticing your emotional reactions. When something triggers you, whether it's anger, jealousy, shame, or even excessive admiration, pause. Ask yourself, why am I reacting this strongly? What part of me is being threatened or trying to speak? These reactions are not random. They are clues, breadcrumbs left by your shadow. To track them, create a simple emotional journal. At the end of each day, write down one emotional moment and explore. What triggered it? What did you feel? What memory or part of yourself may have been touched? But don't stop there. Go deeper with a technique Jung encouraged: shadow dialogue. Speak to your shadow as a reflection of your hidden self. Not a separate being, but a part of you asking to be heard. Sit quietly. Take a pen and write a letter to your shadow. Then write a response from your shadow. No filters, no judgment. Ask it questions like, what are you trying to protect me from? Why do you act out this way? What do you need me to hear? And then, don't rush to answer. Just notice what your body feels. The truth usually shows up there first. This process may feel strange at first, but it's incredibly revealing. Because the shadow isn't trying to destroy you. It's trying to protect you in the only way it knows how. Now, this kind of deep work requires a safe container. Somewhere you can show up without fear of being judged. That might be a therapist who understands depth psychology, a close, conscious friend, a creative outlet like painting, writing, or music, or even solitude, where honesty becomes possible. The moment your shadow feels seen, not judged, is the moment true healing begins. Think of your shadow like raw material, rough, unrefined, even chaotic. But when acknowledged and processed, it becomes fuel for growth, creativity, and deeper authenticity. Some of the world's most powerful art, breakthroughs, and movements were born not from people who had it all together, but from those who turned their wounds into wisdom. You don't need to do it perfectly. You just need to start. With honesty, with patience, and with courage. In our final section, we'll explore the ultimate truth behind the shadow. Why facing it isn't just a personal journey, but a key to transforming the world around you. Part 7. The ultimate truth. Your shadow is the gateway to awakening. Carl Jung said something that defines the heart of shadow work. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Enlightenment isn't about escaping the dark. It's about walking straight into it and coming out the other side with awareness, truth, and wholeness. When you embrace your shadow, you don't just change yourself. You change how you move through the world. You stop reacting. You start responding with clarity, depth, and compassion. And here's the deeper truth. When you heal your inner world, you begin to heal the collective one too. Because your inner work isn't just personal. It's relational. It's communal. It's energetic. Every time you own your truth instead of projecting it. Every time you meet someone else's darkness with understanding instead of judgment, you create a ripple. Think about the people in your life who feel real. The ones who don't pretend, who speak with honesty, who hold space without trying to fix or change you. These are often people who have faced their own shadows. And because of that, they help create safe spaces for others to do the same. Shadow work makes you one of those people. It doesn't just make you stronger. It makes you softer in the places that matter. Less defensive, more human, more connected. The shadow isn't something to be feared. It's not a mistake in your design. It's not a flaw to be corrected. It's a compass, pointing you toward what you most need to reclaim. And when you begin to integrate it, you realize you were never broken. You were just in pieces, waiting to come home to each other. And now, you're coming back together. This is the beginning of true awakening. Not the search for perfection, but the return to wholeness. In our closing, we'll bring all of this together and ask the most important question of all. What has your shadow been trying to tell you? A new journey begins in the dark. Before we end, I want to ask you something simple, but revealing. Have you ever found yourself reacting strongly to someone without fully understanding why? That might not be about them. That might be your shadow, trying to get your attention. If something stirred within you during this video, start with this question. What am I hiding from within myself? This is where the journey begins. Not in the light, but in the courage to walk into your own darkness and listen. If this resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Share your reflections, your questions, maybe even your shadow story. You never know who might need to hear it. And if you're ready to go deeper, subscribe. And when you're ready, We'll meet again where the light begins, in the heart of your darkness.